So Marlow just face revealed and dropped a 3-hour-long response video debunking all the cheating allegations. And unless you're unemployed and single like me, you probably don't have time to go through 3 hours of Minecraft drama. So in this video, I'll be covering Marlow's full response, from start to finish, and hopefully come to a conclusion by the end of this video. But before we do that, consider subscribing and liking the video, because this video took forever. So let me start with the biggest thing, which is that the video opens with what is immediately the most significant moment of Marlow's entire public career, which is a face reveal. Like Marlow states explicitly that she has been forced into this by the severity of the accusations, specifically those relating to her identity as a person. So this is not a voluntary milestone moment, but a forced thing, and she's recording from a hotel room, having traveled out of the state specifically to meet with at least one staff member in person as part of the verification process. And dude, the face reveal is framed as something she genuinely hates doing, and she connects it directly to the broader pattern of her own behavior, saying, "I really do hate the fact that I'm having to face reveal from this video, but ultimately to a degree it's actions like these that have led me here in the first place." Which is honestly a really self-aware statement when you think about it, because she's acknowledging that her own decisions contributed to the situation. But after we see her face, let me tell you about the 3 main accusations she's addressing, because Marlow identifies 3 central claims being made against her, which are cheating in competitive gameplay, theft, specifically the Jackpot MC website situation, and being another person, which is the Danger Mario identity accusation. And she acknowledges that she had already been working on this video before the Danger Mario accusations surfaced, and that the introduction was added afterward to specifically address Ximity's identity video. So the body of the pre-recorded video addresses the cheating and theft accusations in detail. But now let me tell you about the AI voice, because this is the most significant personal admission in the entire video. And honestly, when I heard this, I was like, bro, you cannot make this up. Marlow confirms she has been using an AI voice for the last few years, and she acknowledges lying about this extensively, and says she cannot blame people for doubting her character as a result. And dude, this is huge, because this confirms what Refund had been saying all along about the AI voice. So her explanation is rooted in a deeply overprotective family environment, and her mother in particular was extremely overprotective, to the point where Marlow was not supposed to be using social media at all, and from a young age she developed the habit of deliberately changing her voice whenever it might be recorded, especially if she became larger on social media. And as she got older, she found maintaining this changed speaking style increasingly difficult, especially for longer videos. And the solution she came up with was that she trained an AI voice model on a dataset of her own already changed way of speaking. And this is a crucial technical detail, because the AI voice was not someone else's voice. It was modeled on recordings of her own voice, already modified in a way she had been doing manually. And this is why she explains community members who vouched they had caught with her before realistic AI voice changes existed were not lying, because those early interactions were her actual changed voice, not the AI model, and the AI model came later as a more consistent and a sustainable replacement. But dude, she also explains why she lied about it, and there are 2 reasons given. First, because the AI was trained on her own changed voice, she mentally justified it as technically not being someone else's voice, and therefore acceptable to deny. And second, she believed that admitting to AI voice use would cause people to doubt she was a real person, and give credibility to the identity accusations she was already facing. And she acknowledges in retrospect, my decision to lie about this wasn't a good idea, since it's actually provided people with a logical reasoning to believe all of the rumors being spread about me. Which is honestly true, because the lying about the AI voice made everything worse. And Marlow details a specific difficult situation that came up during the stuff investigation, where she had been in discussions with admins about meeting to prove she was not AI, and they wanted a video call, but she could not do a video call because she had already been lying about the AI voice. And if she used a real voice on a video call now, they would assume it was what she had been doing all along, thus proving nothing. And using the AI voice live had a 300 millisecond delay, making it visibly out of sync. So that wasn't an option either. So her only option was to arrange an in-person meetup to prove she was a real human being. And she kept trying to arrange this, but almost everyone rejected it. And she was also prevented from meeting with Rai Rai because other staff considered him suspicious. And she was even told at one point that an in-person meetup was not enough because she was told a man could theoretically transition gender in a week to pose as female, which is an argument she describes as making her feel treated as someone who was guilty no matter what, and also that's such a crazy standard to hold someone to. But she ultimately managed to arrange a meetup with one willing staff member and is recording the video from her hotel room during this out-of-state trip, and she also records a live verification segment with a friend named Eddie, where she does things like waving a broom in front of her face to rule out AI image generation, shining a flashlight on herself, and most significantly singing the Do-Re-Mi scale, which is the exact task Refone had tried and failed to get her to do, and she completed live with a voice crack, which Eddie and Marlow both treat as proof of human authenticity. And also this is pretty compelling evidence that she's a real person, not an AI. But dude, now let me tell you about the second major admission which Marlow explicitly says will get her cancelled. And it's that almost every montage on the channel is heavily staged, and she's not saying the opponents were fake or that she didn't actually beat these players. She did legitimately beat all of them, but what she's saying is that many clips or scenarios she replayed multiple times to create variety and ideal pacing for the video, and more specifically in two of her vanilla montages she played in a lower tick speed, which is a reduced game simulation rate, and this has two specific effects on the gameplay appearance. First, her aim tracking looks unnaturally smooth and controlled because fewer ticks means slower, more predictable movement. And second, her timing looks robotically consistent because inputs in a low TPS environment get grouped into blocks, rather than registering at natural human intervals, and this directly addresses what Team Cryptic, Voom, and the coaching analysis had identified as the most compelling evidence of cheating, like the superhuman smoothness, the consistent center mass tracking, the frame-perfect timing on attribute swap. These are all explained not by AMS's software, but by the specific production technique of recording in low tick rate environments. And she confirms that in her 2-year vanilla PvP montage, she used a custom mod to play in a lower tick rate, because Minecraft did not have a native command for this at the time. And honestly, this is such a huge admission because it explains so much of what people thought was cheating, and she says she never told anyone because she thought it wasn't a big deal, like she viewed montages like a piece of art and was being intentional about the clips she included, and she genuinely beat all the players shown. But she acknowledges, I understand that it gets to a point where even if it's not completely definitive, people can't be blamed for thinking that it's more likely that I'm hacking. But dude, Marlow is careful to distinguish the staged montage footage from her live competitive gameplay, and she argues that even if the montages weren't staged, the evidence being used against her still wouldn't be proof of hacks, and her competitive screen shares, which she details at length, she maintains have always come back clean. And now let me tell you about her response to Dr. Donut, because Marlow plays a series of Dr. Donut stream clips from when she was reacting to the exposure, and responds to each one directly. So in the stop streaming advice, Dr. Donut had said this was Danger Mario trying to push him out of the community, but Marlow's response is that the recommendation was specifically about not streaming his tier 2 test attempts, because she believed a big part of streaming is entertaining an audience, and then competing while entertaining would split his focus and hurt his competitive performance. And she says she genuinely wanted Dr. Donut to achieve tier 2 and was giving sincere strategic advice. And on the It's Real Me quitting claim, Dr. Donut had stated Marlow manipulated It's Real Me into quitting PvP, but Marlow calls this seemingly out of nowhere and flatly denies it, saying I've never wanted It's Real Me to quit, I've never even wanted to get number 1, and she says her goal was always tier 1 in every game mode specifically, and she would actually prefer not to be number 1 overall because of the negativity it attracts. And she states, I wish It's Real Me had never quit, and I wish he would have kept going further so that I didn't have to be number 1, which if true completely changes the narrative around that situation. But dude, now let me tell you about the Danger Mario accusations, because this is where Marlow denies everything and presents a counter-narrative to the identity claim. She states that Danger Mario is a real person who has been impersonating her since 2020, like going to insane lengths including creating multiple YouTube videos to tie her to his 2B2T group, and she characterizes herself as the victim of a multi-year impersonation campaign, rather than being the person running it. And on the Telegram account, Marlow directly challenges the authenticity of the Telegram DMs, and she states she looked into the Telegram account shown in Ximiti's video and found evidence it was created in 2025, like after the time frame the messages were supposedly sent, and she references Telegram's account IDs as being usable to roughly date an account's creation, citing the ID as resolving to approximately May 2025, and the theory is that someone used Telegram's custom app functionality to create an entire fake timeline of messages and dates. But she acknowledges that the DMs contain extremely specific private information, including her VPN account code and details about staging her montages that she had told almost nobody, and her explanation is that she believes the Discord account was compromised with malware at some point, possibly doing screenshots she participated in with someone connected to Danger Mario in 2021 and 2022. And she states Danger Mario had a documented history of stealing Discord tokens from multiple people, and notes that 1 month before XMT posted his first video about her, he had been in contact with another blacklisted player about planting malware on someone's computer, which she suspects may have been her. And also, this is where things get really complicated, because on one hand, she's admitting to the AI voice in the stage montages, which gives her credibility for being honest, but on the other hand, the denial of being Danger Mario with the explanation that Discord was hacked and the Telegram account was created in 2025 is a lot to believe, and I generally don't know what to think about this part. But dude, Marlow also addresses the Acimity blacklist situation and announces she has been seeking legal advice regarding Acimity's video, stating that there are so many verifiably false claims that it constitutes extreme damages to reputation and livelihood. And a staff member named Spook presents Acimity's blacklist case in detail, and the blacklist was issued for sexual misconduct, requesting material like requesting weird images of a player named Amelia dating back to when she was 15, Swight requests like directly requesting that someone sort a player, doxing like directly posting another player's name, IP address, country and email, and alternate account misuse. And more importantly, in December 2025, Acimity approached someone requesting a remote access Trojan, which is malware that would steal Discord tokens and grant access to accounts without passwords, and he retracted the request shortly after, but the fact of making it is treated as significant. And Marlow states she was one of the only people who forgave Acimity of this initial blacklist and tried to support him emotionally, and she characterizes his motivation for making videos against her as being primarily about trying to use her popularity to get himself unblacklisted, saying, "In my opinion, the primary reason for why he's been making videos against me is due to the fact that he hasn't yet been unblacklisted on MCTiers." And dude, one of the most compelling sections of the video is where Marlow presents a year-by-year summary of every time she was accused of cheating, and in each case what the cheat turned out to actually be. Like in 2020 to 2021, she was accused due to false respawn anchor placement, which turned out to be keyboard placement, now a widely known legitimate strategy. In 2022, accused due to shield disabling speed, which turned out to be attribute swapping, now widely known. In 2023, accused for placing blocks mid-air, which turned out to be air placing, now widely known. And it goes on like this for every year. And the summary is, people clearly have an unhealthy tendency to label anything that they don't understand as cheating. And she frames herself as someone whose repeated advancement of the game's meta has consistently been interpreted as hacking rather than innovation, which honestly is a fair point if you look at the pattern of her being accused of things that later become widely accepted techniques. And to address claims that her success is solely a product of controlling the tier list system, Marlow presents ELO simulation data from SMP ranking history, showing that in the entire history of SMP being added to the tier list, no one has ever come close to her ELO rating, and the second highest rated player of all time is approximately 200 ELO below her, and that same 200 point gap separates the second highest player from the 25th highest, so she argues a rating system would actually further secure her lead rather than undermine it. But dude, Marlow closes with several larger observations, and one is on content creators exploiting the situation, where she plays a recording of a streamer named Hatflaw, explicitly discussing how he plans to milk the Marlow situation for content, build a community split around it, and potentially make up evidence for views. And she presents this as typical of how situations like hers get twisted, like people with nothing to lose financially from spreading false claims and everything to gain. Fun fact, this Hatflaw guy falsely copyright striked me, but luckily my channel manager and I managed to finish on them, so my channel is still fine to this day. Shout out to my manager Kadesa if you're watching this. And she mentions the PvP rank project, which is a client mod she has been helping to improve, featuring match queuing, a full replay system, cross-regional netcode, and a sophisticated rating system, and she expresses genuine excitement about its potential to transform competitive Minecraft. And on her own future, she expresses a desire to return to being a well-respected and well-connected leader within the community who brought a lot of positivity through guides, new videos, new projects, and community improvement work. And she closes saying, "I hope all of you can understand that I have good intentions for the community." But what do you guys think? Personally, I think some parts seem really honest, like the AI voice admission and the stage montages, but other parts like the Danger Mario denial with the explanation that someone hacked the Discord and created a fake Telegram account in 2025 is a lot harder to believe. And if you made it this far into the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for part 2. Anyways, goodbye!